What is going on, everybody? This is the Lower Mid Card Podcast. I'm Kyle Driver.
And I'm Grind, and we're here again, dude.
Yeah, and let's make an introduction. We got a new face.
Yeah, we do,
for
man.
for episode 3. We got Eli, who is actually he's one of my moderators and IRL friends that I've known for a long time. I don't know how many years now.
I'm not doing the math right now.
Yeah, I'm not doing the math. But yeah, fellow meaty men slapping meat watcher and enthusiast.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little more on like the indie stuff, but I still watch all of the major stuff too. So
Love it, dude. Love it. I'm not into the indie stuff like at all. Kyle's kind of coaching me slowly through the indie stuff.
And I get coached by Eli.
Yeah,
So
well, there we go.
I mean, I like what I look for. I mean, one of the greatest things about wrestling is there's something for everybody. So I love deathmatch wrestling, and so sometimes the mainline companies just don't kind of do everything I want, but for the most part, you can still find something you like out of it. So
them good old days. EC Dub.
Yeah, speaking of ECW, man, I watched I watched the Sunny Dark Side of the Ring. And dude, what a dark time in pro wrestling. And not just that, but what a businessman Paul Heyman was. You know, I mean, it's just dark. I mean, literally, does it get any darker? I don't know if it does.
Have you watched like all the Dark Side of the Ring stuff?
I've watched a lot of them. And the more I get that Paul kind of did whatever Paul wanted and made it, used it to his advantage.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you right now that whole Sunny thing, man, I was like, wow, dude. I remember Sunny, but I don't remember. She wasn't like the girl I grew up with. You know, the girl that was on everything was Sable. So I remember seeing her. I didn't know her entire story, and it was just like crazy.
Dude, we could go off on so many tangents.
That's the best part.
We're here for,
dude. That's the best part. We can talk about anything we want, and yes, we have structure.
We have a little bit of structure.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, hey, as long as it's pro wrestling, dude.
Exactly. We're talking about wrestling.
That wrestling, dude. We're in that wheelhouse. Okay, Kyle. You know what? We'll get down to business.
Don't put it on me. Like,
well, hey, listen.
You got to start with the lower mid card.
Yeah, exactly.
The lower mid card. Exactly.
We got to build up to this thing, you know.
Yeah, we're building.
Okay. Well, you know what? You know what?
Kyle ruined it.
Kyle ruined it.
I'm done. I'm done.
Speaking of building,
you know what?
Speaking of building, AEW has built a third show.
First episode of Collision, this past Saturday. I mean, I think the matches were fine. There wasn't anything like really shock and awe for me, but it's just, I think it's just another, really them adding it. So, I'm sure there's some backstage stuff. But it's just another show to progress storylines.
Kyle sent a DM to the group thread last night. And it had nothing to do with what he just spoke about. You want to touch on maybe that a little bit?
Yeah, okay. So I started it up and I'm watching it, and them starting off with fucking Elton John. Are you like, I was just like, yes,
yeah,
I love this. I was like, the second the music hit, because I love Elton John. I think he's great.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm in. I got sucked in. I was like, yeah, let's go.
Solid promo to like open the show with all the pyrotechnics. Sure enough, the first thing you see is CM Punk, right? Poster boy, poster child of the entire thing. It's crazy how much they're building around him. But I mean, Elton John, the pyro, there's something about it being on Saturday. And then the best part is there's something that felt very WCW. Like,
yes.
And I don't know if it was
the color choice of the logo.
No, of course not. It had nothing to do with it looking like Nitro.
Yeah.
One quick thing I will note. I think whoever was doing the announcing literally referenced the Elton John lyrics of the opening song like 3 times in the
Oh, you
broadcast, and
mean
I
you
was
mean
just he's like,
Saturday?
"It was Saturday night," and as Elton John says, like, alright, dude, he used it's almost what I do a lot of the
Yeah.
times when I'm, like, telling jokes with my friends. Like, the first time I don't think it quite hit, and I'll just do it again.
Yeah.
Like, that was what I felt like. I felt like
Yeah.
he was either, like, looking down the card and, like, skipped one of his lines or something and went back to it. It was to the point where, like, I actually had to take a second and be like, "Did he really just say that a second or third time now?" Like, it just completely took me away from whatever was going on, but
Jeez.
So what were your initial impressions, Grind?
I thought it was so weird, man, how literally the first thing, like, that they welcome you to the event and everybody's chanting CM Punk. And
Yeah.
I know that that's what they're there for. I know that like that is the moment they're waiting for, but it
Yeah.
blew my mind that that was how they started the event. Because I
they're in
mean,
Chicago. You
well,
have to.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
But how many people after that, after he did his little promo, how many people turned off the TV? A lot. Um,
Probably.
yes, they had him in a wrestling match, but everybody wanted to know if he was going to come back as a heel or a babyface. They wanted to hear that promo. They wanted to hear what he had to say, and to just open with that, I kind of thought it was like kind of bad on their behalf because I think that they could have milked it a little bit. And I'll be 1,000% honest. After that, I was interested, but
Yeah.
that's what I came for more than anything,
Right.
right? For being a live show and it being
Yeah.
a third show during the week, it felt refreshing. It felt new. It didn't feel
Yeah.
stale or even like a Sunday night heat. It felt like a Saturday main event style kind of show. So
Yeah.
that's kind
That
of
can
where I'm
kind
at.
of that can kind of bring us to something I think that was interesting aside from the Punk promo. He was wrestling later on in the night, so I have a feeling that they were like, have him come out, say what he needs to say, and not let that jam up what they were gonna do
Right.
with the match in general. Because you know him coming back is kind of like unfinished business, and you
Mhm.
know the general like path it's going down is to face the elite probably, even though they're
Right.
probably gonna keep them away. It's the same thing where at the end of his promo, he's basically calling MJF out. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
lose. The belt's still in my
Yeah.
bag right here. Because he
Yeah.
came out with a bag. He came out with his boots, or at least
Right.
a pair of his boots,
Right.
probably his workout, like his training
They
boots.
were wrestling
And
boots, which were like
yeah,
not like
so
pro wrestling boots. They were like amateur wrestling shoes.
yeah, like, probably just, like, in
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
gym, his gym attire. But, just a little bit past that, you have them trying to come out hot and, like, have the TNT championship match. They
Yeah.
kinda were trying to build like, I always feel like if they're going in these directions where they're starting feuds in the TV stuff, maybe aside from the TNT championship, but for the larger portion, like, I always feel like those things get resolved in the pay-per-view just because people want to that gives you buys. Like, I
Yeah.
wanna see the
Exactly.
resolution or the continuation of the story. Now, I felt just a little bit I felt like the Luchasaurus, Wardlow match had kind of like a PPV sort of feel to it, and I think that that was good. Spoiler for anybody who's, hasn't seen Collision yet, but Luchasaurus wins. We already said that he didn't win clean. Obviously, Christian has his own little influence, but
Yeah.
he took the belt. Christian took the belt. He jumps on the turnbuckles and says, "I'm the champ."
Kyle, do you remember I called this
You did.
like 3, 4, well, episode 1, I think.
Yeah,
Episode
you
1 of the
did. You
podcast.
called this.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to happen. I thought if Christian beat Warlow at fucking Bash at the
Oh,
Beach.
yeah, there you go.
um,
With the
yeah,
fist wave,
yeah,
the
exactly, dude.
97 logo.
Yeah. If he beat Warlow, I thought for sure I was like, well, what do you do with Luchasaurus? None of this makes sense. And it's all been building to what we're talking about now. Like
Yeah.
this very moment is, I don't think it's too soon. I do get what you're saying though with a lot of their writing, man. I do feel like the punchline, it's just too soon. Like you could build
Or
up
too late.
Yes, exactly. When nobody cares, right? And
Right.
this one kind of caught me by surprise. I did see it, and then Kyle almost had me convinced, like, well, why would they do that? They've done that already. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm talking about
Yeah.
because AEW's fucking WCW, and I'll throw my hands up in the air, but it does feel good to kind of have an idea how pro wrestling works and see, here we are, episode 3,
Yeah.
and I called it, man. I called it.
You
So
did. You did the thing.
I gotta pat myself on the back, dude.
Good job, man. I'm proud of you.
Here's the thing. Luchasaurus is such a cool character, and Christian Cage wears fucking turtlenecks. Okay,
Yeah.
If they're going to be in unison, like at least MVP, dresses the part as like a manager with almost, right?
He's Canadian. What do you expect, man?
Well, I just with Christian, it's like there's just too much, obviously ego, and the weirdest thing is Christian's active, so it didn't make any sense to me. They're not really a tag team. They're having these singles matches. Like, what are we? It just didn't line up, and so I think we're all on the same agreement here. Him holding that title belt, on the ropes and whatnot, was like, oh, here we go,
Here we go.
And he couldn't do it himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the title match. I think it was
Title
good.
match.
I mean, we can briefly touch on Buddy and Andrade, because Andrade came back. Buddy's a wonderful opponent for him. We touched on this a little bit earlier in our discussion so far, and something that was like driving me nuts about it, and that is the injury angle they threw in the middle of the match.
It's distracting,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's just like, come on, guys. Like, let's just have the match. Like, you don't have to.
Like, we know they got injured. We know where they got injured because they say it 5 times every time they come back.
Right.
Whenever any wrestler is intentionally working somewhere where somebody got seriously injured, it gets brought back up again.
Mhm.
Oh, and again, I'm not necessarily saying it's bad. It's one of those things where, like, you're looking for them throwing the X's up, and if they don't do it, I don't believe it. Like, not for a second.
Yep.
And if they're gonna and that kind of ties into the next match I was gonna say, which was the Outcast versus Willow and Sky Blue.
Yeah.
Where they did the thing before the bell even rang, where like Sky's mom's sitting there and she's slapping people and slapped the Outcast. And I don't remember who. I think it was Willow, but Willow threw Ruby into the guardrail and she went top of her head right into it. And I think she was probably on concussion protocol because it looked like they were gonna do something different. That is where they were actually running around like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Whereas, on the flip side of that, I mean, obviously injury is just part of what it is.
Right. It's part of the culture.
Explosive Jordan kicks. Yeah, it's a part of the culture as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember
we love
seeing
that.
something where he had to get like a permit to be able to even do that spot.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll touch
Tony
that on that
Khan doing lines of cocaine in the back while this is
oh
happening.
My god, dude,
That's a part
I
of the
love
culture.
it. I love it so much. We also had another return at Collision, and that was Miro.
Yeah, dude. That, you know what? That was probably one of the best performances of the night, in my opinion. He looks better than ever, and God, this is another one of those cases where the WWE really fumbled, man, because this guy being able to do his persona and whatnot, I'm like, dude, he's killing it. And I don't understand sometimes the creative control, in the WWE, because it's like they lost out, man. He's dude, he's jacked out of his mind, bro. Speaking of injuries, this is what I found more fascinating than the entire event. Good old JR. Did you see the photo that was tweeted?
No, what?
Oh my god, he had a fall. If you can pull it up, you should check it out.
Hold on, I'm about to do that. JR.
Make sure you drop him a follow, dude. Man is a legend. He posted a photo. He was like at the airport, and he's like, "Hey, I'll be there for this historic night." And he has the fattest black eye. His eye is swollen shut, and it's just bad looking, right? Well, then, I didn't hear anything during his announcing that felt uncomfortable, especially knowing what I knew that he had this fall. But he then went to Twitter at the very end of the event and apologized.
Yeah.
And do you have it pulled up right now? Or no?
I have basically I just like he just said he had a bad fall this morning. I got that one. But there's a news article where he apologized.
Yeah, he ended up
Um,
apologizing and basically stating like he shouldn't have been there, kind of. At least that's
yeah.
what I got from it, and I was like, "Whoa, did I miss something? Did I not hear him? Was he like slurring
Yeah.
his words?"
He
Um,
definitely sounded out of it.
yeah, I didn't.
He
I guess I
definitely
didn't.
sounded like he wasn't like incoherent, but you could tell that he was distraught in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
He was definitely talking in a lower tone. Um, I mean, obviously, like I'm looking at a picture of his face right now. Like, holy fucking shit!
Yeah.
His whole upper eyelid to his from eyelashes to eyebrow is fucking black.
Yep.
That brings us to Forbidden Door, like what we already know so far. Moving ahead.
Oh, I'm actually okay. So the match that I'm looking forward to, and I think uh well, the two matches that I'm really looking forward to are Bryan Danielson and Okada, and then MJF against Tanahashi. I'm super excited. I'm just excited for Forbidden Door. I take it back. I'm excited for every match so far. Kenny Omega against Will Ospreay, like that's gonna be a banger. And then and then the other two that I mentioned, like let's go.
I'm looking at this, man. I'll be 1,000% honest. Anything MJF does, I love. Right. I feel like this event lacks quite a bit compared to what we saw at Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing was from top to bottom was an insane card, and is that their WrestleMania? I mean, it felt like a really big card, and Forbidden Door is next week, and it feels like a small card. It just doesn't feel consistent. Now, the list I have in front of me, they're all championship matches, and they're all interesting. But I mean, dude, you had a 4 pillars match, you had the arena match. You had all these different. You had a title, or no, it was a contract stipulation at one point. There was all these different things, right? And now I'm just looking at these, and there's no stipulations, and they're all just like kind of decent matches. I mean, maybe due to Double or Nothing, my expectations are way too high, but and I can understand just good quality wrestling, you know what I'm saying? But when you look at this card, from what I see, it doesn't hold up to what we saw at Double or Nothing.
The last Forbidden Door was the card was a lot bigger. Like am I missing something?
Just for my own kind of context, this pay-per-view is the biggest answer to what ifs that we've always had historically in intercompany anything. You always had the what if Sting faced any name anybody in the Attitude Era.
Right.
Last Forbidden Door was the first Forbidden Door. It
Right.
was the opening of the possibility that these
Right.
things could happen. So the whole point, I think, of this is really to serve the greater wrestling community, the people who do follow the IWGP, the New Japan, like
Right.
all the stuff
hardcores.
where you are watching the other promotions. I will personally say that I don't follow the Japanese promotions as much as I should, but having friends who are very into the other promotions and are like, these guys, they're the guys, like the guys, and like it's your big names. You don't get bigger than these guys. And like I feel like, maybe having your expectations a little like, I don't really know. It's valid, and it's also a good chance for you to get maybe interested in seeing what's going on. And that's where I think it really, really succeeds. It succeeded last year. My only problem is the the matches themselves, they can't give away too much because you're not going to sit there and have your guys go back over to Japan to win the titles, like,
Yeah.
and vice versa. Granted, they've been doing a decent amount with like Takeshita and like trying to get them, some of like that cross, like even Jay White coming over.
Yeah.
Um,
Jay White and Juice Robinson and having the the Gold Club. I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. We always like, pay-per-views are always a good thing. And just, the at least 3 out of the 4 matches that are currently announced are exciting.
Anyway, I'm not going to even give predictions for these because, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just not going to. But-
Listen, I'll do a brief one
Okay.
for me, and I'll just kind of go right down the list. I think Will Ospreay wins. I think Okada wins. Jungle Boy's not going to win, and then I think MJF takes over Tanahashi. One last thing before we move on to WWE. We've got Fight Forever coming out.
Dude,
In 10 days, we got Fight Forever.
I am so flipping pumped, man. Somebody who played WWE No Mercy as a kid,
Yeah.
and whatnot. When I heard about the details about this game and that they were going after like that model and whatnot, and I believe they got the guy who designed the original No Mercy to do this.
THQ.
It was
Yeah.
yeah. Was it just the company, or was there? I thought it was
I don't know. I don't know about like that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't. Eli, you might know more.
I'm pretty sure the business side of this is like the same quote unquote people are doing it. It's just they're in a different company. They're
Gotcha.
in a different
Yeah.
it's another coat of paint over whoever's
Yeah.
in charge of doing whatever they're doing. I think that's what I was kind of getting on it.
Yeah.
I kept putting, like, when I heard about it, I was like, how are you going to take a modern, 2023, how are you going to make a modern No Mercy? And I just couldn't put it together in my head, because if you go back and play No Mercy, it's a fun experience. It plays
Yeah.
great. However, it looks atrocious. And it didn't. A lot of those games, man, it's so funny going back and playing them because they don't live up to what you remember. And man, we were really playing with some pixels.
THQ did WCW versus NWO, WCW World Tour, WWE, 2000, WrestleMania 2000. What probably my favorite wrestling game of all time. WrestleMania 2000. I spent hours just creating people
That's so funny.
before even wrestling. I'll create a Kyle Driver, you create a Grind, and we'll have a wrestling match.
Sounds amazing, dude.
And we can actually do it on the pod.
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
We'll just have a wrestling match on the pod. We'll just sit there and talk shit to each other.
Oh, I can't wait, dude. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing.
Just with what we have going on in the WWE right now, we kind of got to touch on that.
We have to.
It's just such a, like elephant in the room. I don't know. I don't really know how to properly describe it. You bring Rhea and Dominik, the behemoth that is what's going on with Dami and Mommy, and you have Cody, and they somehow are colliding. And
Yeah.
I think that's like the biggest thing right now, like under the obvious like Roman's bloodline stuff, but like just to kind of get things going. This is like what they kind of got you going in the meantime.
I was so confused. I was like, really? You're okay. That was the first thing that, like, after watching everything, like, and when they announced that match, I was like, so what's the plan? Like, what is happening? Like, normally I could be like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. Okay, this makes sense because they're gonna do this, and then more than likely they'll do this or something along those lines. I have no fucking clue what this is.
Yeah, dude. It's kind of concerning. As somebody who was not super excited about Cody Rhodes' return, and I was happy with it, but I thought, I didn't like how golden boy he was starting to look. But I understood it. And as somebody who tries to see both sides of the coin, I understood why people wanted it, loved it, and everything along those lines. You know, it's been weird because okay, he loses at Mania, and then it was like, well, where do we go from here? And then you start looking at it, and you go, okay, Lesnar, he gets a win over Lesnar. He then loses to Lesnar, and you go, okay, now they're 1-1. Well, they got to be leaning this way, but Money in the Bank's coming up. So, you know, this
Right.
is, and people have been talking forever about how Money in the Bank is his opportunity to switch brands and to, you know, capitalize on the Roman end of the story, right? But
Yeah.
here's what just I don't understand more than anything is Cody keeps bringing up, I need to complete the story. He's still saying it in these
Yeah.
segments with Dominik, and it doesn't make any sense
Yeah, I got nothing.
on a trajectory to a championship, to ultimately a championship, unless they're looking at him as not the face of the company, somebody who can retain or somebody who could be a US champion, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because the way he's been building for so long and with what his name means. And I mean the amount of people that are tuning in, the how over he is, it doesn't make sense to put him on a lower tier, but here he is against Dominik Mysterio, and it's like, you know, what WWE's been really good about is finding that right time, to do the right thing lately, and it's really worked. But in this scenario, I mean, I am lost. It looks great for Dominik and
Right.
for Rhea, but I just don't. The trajectory at this point for Cody makes no sense. And the only other thing I can say is like he's got an open challenge to Brock Lesnar. So you add that to the table too.
Yeah.
What in the world is happening?
I don't know. Eli, make sense of it, please.
So there are actually 11 months between WrestleManias, or 12 months between WrestleManias, and they're hoping that you just completely forget everything that leads up to that.
Yeah.
That's my two words. When's WrestleMania? The decision that they made at WrestleMania to have him lose made them force their hand to just do all of this stuff in the interim, make all this other stuff have to happen because they can't
Yeah.
bring him into the picture again until the time comes again. You know, keep the gears turning. That's the only thing I can make sense out of
Yeah.
this. Like, I mean, you know, it kind of counteracts the way that we're kind of discussing it, but that's also another factor that I guess, you know, we kind of overlook in this too is like, you go to a show, you want to see Cody, you want to
Yeah.
see your guys, you want to see the New Day when they're healthy, you want to see,
Yeah.
have a good time and be sports entertained. And
Yeah.
I guess sometimes you got to have him wrestle Dominic.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Like we've said before, man, Dominik never disappoints.
Yeah.
That might be maybe my expectations have gotten too high with that, but that part I'm excited for, you know.
I'm just glad he's not fighting his dad anymore.
Yeah.
The family stuff, like, you're never going to get out of that, and the only way you're going to move along is to move along. They spent way too many trying to make him legitimate. Like, don't sit there and tell people that he needs to be legitimate. Go have him do stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Speaking
have him do.
you're right. You're 1,000% right. Speaking of which, this weekend on a few days ago, Roman defended his belt for the first time since Mania, and it was on a Saturday. It was a dark card night.
Yeah.
And
House show.
Yeah, and he defended it against Rey Mysterio, and obviously Rey's got nothing to gain there.
Right.
It's a tune-up match, obviously, for Roman. And what was cool about it was everyone got involved. So the Usos the whole bloodline got involved. And it was all over Twitter, man. It looked like actually a really solid match. The Usos come out and, you know, make sure the match isn't dirty. And yeah, dude, it's cool to see that even on house shows, like he's defending the belt, and he's not defending it very often, obviously, since Mania.
Right.
But I mean, that's pretty big for the WWE to have
More
faith
than
in it.
MJF comparatively.
Yeah, isn't that
Yes.
crazy? It blows my mind, dude. But it kind of sets up something I really want to talk about. What do you think about this Bloodline Civil War going on, man? It is.
I was watching, okay, and I when they hooked me. I was like, this, god damn, I was like, Jay's gonna go back to the bloodline, and then it doesn't fucking happen. I was like, I yelled, and I was screaming. I was marking out hard, and I got yelled at because I was being too damn loud. But it was just, oh my god. That was the way that they planned, or the way that it was executed on that line officially being drawn. It was fucking beautiful.
Top tier, man. How good is Jay and Roman? I mean, let alone the entire squad, right? The entire bloodline's phenomenal, but I mean, Jay just sells it over the top, dude. And I'm like, how's this guy? They're talking about the whole grooming thing and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jay's a freaking star, dude. It
was amazing.
Oh, dude.
I loved it.
And unfortunately, I don't think he'll ever be the guy as long as Jimmy's around. They will be the best tag team of all time, in my opinion, or close to it. They'll be on the Mount Rushmore, I think. But I don't think Jay will ever be that guy due to the fact that his brother's in the industry and whatnot. But the way he's put in this situation right now, man, Jimmy's been great too. Like I said, they've all been wonderful. But when Jay sells it, dude, like that emotion and whatnot, I get captivated. I'm like, oh my god, dude.
I believed it.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna go back to the island of relevancy, and he was gonna be, Roman's right hand. And then when Roman's like, hey, Jimmy's the reason why, he's trying to sow discourse between the brothers, and it just it didn't work. And watching that, where it's like, oh shit, he's going back, and then you're like, damn it, and then just boom, and I was like, yes, I loved it.
That final super kick by the Usos, man. I mean, Roman sold that so well. It was just it was that it was that perfect fucking moment, and God, dude,
loved it.
I'm so happy with the way that's going. It's taking longer than I thought it would, but it's been worth every little just tidbit,
It's been the most compelling storyline.
Oh, dude,
and I would love to say that's a Triple H storyline.
Hey man, I'm all for it. Some of these storylines have been great as of late, dude. It's been some of the most captivating WWE in years for me. So I just, that pop, dude, that crowd pop.
Yeah,
it's something
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again.
It's just,
it was that good.
It's something we haven't seen pop like this, I feel like, in the WWE. And up until 6-8 months ago, for a long time. And just like I said, dude, I'm so stoked with it. So stoked.
I will say I like the storyline. I've liked the long-term aspect because they've been so fickle with letting anything take shape and form and make people invested, because it just works so well. They have enough people involved in the entire story that it lets it give room to breathe. My only I just want to pump the brakes just a bit. And as much as I like what's going on the whole, it's very tedious to me right now. I don't know who's doing what. I don't know why anybody's doing what. And as much as I'm following it as intently as everybody else, I just feel like it's very tedious right now because they're selling the whole everybody's changing their minds, everybody's not changing their minds. Sammy's in, Sammy's out, Kevin's in, Kevin's out, Jimmy's in, Jay's out. Paul Heyman decides to drop the belts. I don't know, like what like that's really my
Yeah.
only issue. Is it's good that we have all these people that come in here and do a wonderful job and have this really compelling long-term storytelling,
Mhm.
but I just feel like it's being very tedious now, and that's not a knock on it. It's just like you have, and I only say this with the fact that there are a lot of fans who don't sit there and watch every week. You go in to get the freaking vignette before the pay-per-view match that they have set up takes 20 minutes because they have to tell you what happened the last 3 years. And that's all
Yeah.
well and good. It's compelling. It's probably the best thing that the company's done in years, and I'm pretty sure everybody is comfortable in saying that, and everybody
Yeah.
knows it. It's just that's my only little itty bitty gripe. And at this point, just to kind of talk about it, I
Yeah.
just feel like it's just a bit tedious, in my opinion.
That's the weekly clickbait, man. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's to keep those viewers who will view sucked into that one little
Yeah.
segment. And you see it every week on,
Yeah.
SmackDown or even Raw. It's like, will Jay make a choice tonight? Or
Yeah.
Jay,
On
it's
the
like,
next
It's
episode.
yeah.
it's to sell it to the more, like casual fan,
Mhm.
right? Like the three of us, we're gonna watch either way. The diehard fans are gonna watch either way. But that tedious part that's coming in, that's not made for us. That's not for us. That's for
Well,
all
and
those
and the
plebs.
way things
I'm just
work
kidding.
now, the way things work nowadays too, with short form content being king,
Yeah.
is that you need that answer weekly, so that way they can. I mean, the WWE in the moment turns it into Twitter clips, which ends up being TikToks and everything else.
Yeah.
So they have to be clickbaity because there is a whole new age range, or there is a whole new generation that is coming in and watching this, and they're short form content people.
I've
Solo
enjoyed it.
posted the night that happened a photo of him and like the Usos, and they had like X's on him, but it was also with like Sammy in the photo, I think, and he had an X on him, and it was just like Solo just by himself, holding up the We the Ones, and I was just like, dang, dude, it'd be like that. I love that kayfabe aspect when they cross over to social media.
Yeah.
I think that's something that the writers don't capitalize enough on, and I don't know how much of it is really like Solo doing it on his own, but I would love more of that, because that's a market that I think is kind of untapped, and when you see it,
Mm.
it's like eye candy for the next episode, so
Yeah.
that kind of stuff's cool. I'd love to see more banter
Yeah.
and stuff on social media. Hey, so speaking of
Okay.
Roman and the bloodline,
Yes. Yes.
Roman got a new belt, man. And
Yeah.
it was right after Night of Champions. These are the things I don't understand. It's like Night of Champions is this big event with champions, right? Bro,
Yeah.
announce the belt on the big show on the big stage. I thought that would make way more sense. Instead, they do it
Yeah.
on the 1,000th day on SmackDown or whatever, which is cool. And I actually, I'm going to ask you something here in a second, but I was hyped. I was so hyped. I'm like, new belt, dude.
Yeah.
They're going to merge the titles together. And before we even talk about the belt, he shows up this last Friday with 3 of them, with 3 belts. What are we doing? I'm so confused. Why is he coming out with 3 belts? Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, the new title isn't called the WWE Championship. It's called the Undisputed Championship, which is a unified belt, right? So he comes out with the other 2 belts on top, dude. Does that mean that if he loses, that they go back to those 2 belts on top of? Listen.
Okay, so if they're anything, when it comes to the bloodline, when it comes to Roman Reigns, it's an image thing.
Yeah, but
Why
here's
don't
the
we do it
thing.
for the tag belts?
But here's the thing. The WWE, the belts he has are the Universal title and
Yes.
the WWE belt. They're
Okay.
not the world heavyweight belt. So technically, if he loses, potentially, is it that they're not confident enough in the other talent that when he loses, that they just drop it and add a have the belts split again?
I think it's just as a visual. You know, I honestly like Paul Heyman carrying those two titles around is vanity.
So then at
And
that
that's
point,
the whole point of it. It's just
okay.
vanity.
But-
It's like it's Roman Reigns. He ended his, he ended the reign with these titles. He's gonna, it's there's no actual like meat to those titles anymore. It's now just they're there to just be like, we still got them.
But what's interesting about that is the fact that there is some meat to it, which is the fact that the Universal title is the one that's over 1,000 days, right? So if the belt gets handed over, to somebody else, somebody beats Roman, they're not going to call it the undisputed title anymore, would they? And if they do, does that mean that moving forward it's just the undisputed title and that the linear legacy of the Universal title would just end? Because the WWE title, it would still be the WWE title, even though it's the undisputed title, right? I'm getting complicated, but
it's
very
turtles all
complicated.
the way down.
Yeah.
And when you break the WWE Championship up, you recreate the 24/7 hardcore and European championships. That's just what happens.
Yeah.
He needs those belts too.
Dude,
I mean,
why
if
not?
they're doing
I'm so
the other
for
thing,
it, dude.
we're touching on this about him, unifying belts and not having all this. Like, why are they doing that with the tag belts?
Yeah.
I think
They
personally
need to do the
because
same thing.
I think they haven't done it yet, and I think personally it's because they want one on each show. But I don't think that I think they look at their talent right now, and they don't have a strong enough face for it. I think you look at Sammy and you look at KO and you look at what they're doing. You got the Usos who could eventually take it back over, but it doesn't make sense story wise. And outside of the Usos, there's really nobody who can carry the belts like KO and Sammy.
And that's the problem that the Fed has to figure out.
Yeah.
That's the corner they've backed themselves. This was I mean, I've talked to Kyle about this on many occasions where I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm so glad that they made Roman strong and that they made the Usos really strong and that they mattered, but now what? Like you step on everybody else to get to that level. And now you need to have people matter to do something with this. This is why we're so dissatisfied with what they're doing with Cody.
Yeah.
It's not anything bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just you build yourself so high, everybody else is not there. And then you have no reason to care when they don't have somebody big to do something about it.
I'm curious to see where this conversation leads to in the next like 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
Because walking away from this conversation right now, I'm under the impression when I see Roman go out with 3 belts that they're not confident enough with the undisputed title, like moving forward, that they're still showing off these other belts, maybe for a financial gain. WWE shops, it makes him look badass. He's, the Hulk Hogan of our era,
Yeah.
whatever it may be.
The whales need a new title to buy at the show.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But at the same time, is it the fact that they're just not confident in the idea of putting that away, in that potentially they could break up those belts down the line and they want to keep them relevant? That's the way I'm looking at it. When I saw
We'll
it,
see.
I didn't think he was a badass. I thought, well, what are they trying to tell me? That these are still relevant. And that's concerning because, dude, we already have a world heavyweight champion.
Right.
I don't need to see 2 more titles running around the place.
Do we want to talk about Money in the Bank?
Yeah. The first thing comes to my mind is that I heard that they had made mention on the broadcast that Money in the Bank this year, the winner of Money in the Bank could cash it in for like the United States Championship. So they made it very apparent that the winner could potentially cash it in for the Intercontinental title or the US title. And so
Interesting.
if you look at who's in this Money in the Bank match,
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a name that stands out for the world heavyweight title or for
Yeah.
a universal title match.
Yeah.
Personally.
I definitely looking like U.S. and Intercontinental title people.
I do like the
Unless,
match. I think the
yeah,
match is dope.
yeah. So because we got Ricochet, we got Shinsuke, we got L.A. Knight, Santos, Butch, Matt Riddle, and Damian Priest.
That's a killer. That's a killer lineup right there.
So
And you could choose a lot of those guys, and I wouldn't have a problem with 99% of them.
Yep.
yeah, I think it'll be good. I mean, I like having all these mid card talent, but the match is gonna be good. I mean, I'm not mad at anyone that's in this match. I think they're all good.
What is Butch doing in this match, dude? Like, he is. I loved him in NXT, or not.
Yeah.
I was NXT Europe, right?
He was in NXT. Yeah, well, yeah, he was in NXT UK.
UK, yeah.
But when he first came out, Dunn.
Yeah.
That's Pete Dunn.
Way better
I
than
loved
Butch, by the way. Way better than
Yeah,
Butch.
I mean, whatever. It's
He
fine.
is the beneficiary and the unfortunate soul of needing to have a rebrand to fit a group,
Yeah.
Yep.
which
Yeah.
it works and it doesn't
Totally.
work.
Yeah.
And
Because
I mean,
because we know,
Yeah.
like he had a good thing going as Pete Dunn. You know,
Mhm.
he was this fucking bear dude and just beat the shit out of people. But as far as like a prediction goes for the first match, I would love LA Knight to win. I love LA Knight.
I'm
I
right
think
there
he's
with
hilarious. Just everything. Yeah, people hate him, but you love him.
Yep.
Because he's good.
I don't disagree, but I think I'm picking somebody different because I think that down the road it matters more, and that's Damian Priest. I think
Yeah.
the Judgment Day having the straps at any form of having a faction.
Yeah.
You care about the bloodline if they don't have belts?
No.
No. Do you care about the Judgment Day if they don't have belts?
Yes.
Less.
Yeah. Unless you're both.
Less.
That I mean that makes sense. And then
I just feel like if you get it just for me, Judgment Day came out, cool. Edge, the supernatural thing, they didn't want to start doing that, and then they don't have anything to their name. And they're like literally the only other faction in the company.
right.
Like that's not just like rando like people there that like happen to have the same shtick.
Right. And that
This was
makes
like
sense.
manufactured to be a big deal, to be a DX, to be a you don't get your own faction name if they don't care about you.
Right.
And I've always felt like, especially since they pivoted away from Edge very early on, that moving Finn in and then having Finn not win anything, having, Rhea's the only one with gold. Like
Right.
Rhea literally brings, we'll use a term that everybody's using in WWE, relevancy.
Well,
Relevancy. Winning is relevancy.
and
And
then
them having the gold just makes so much sense to me. So giving it to Damian, they've had Damian do some really good matches the last couple pay-per-views. It just makes sense to me.
and I agree. When you say that, and then what happened this past couple weeks, where like Finn and Damien have been kind of like they've been rubbing each other the wrong way. It makes sense. So I would LA Knight, Damian Priest, I'm good with either of those.
I read a headline. I did not read the article, but it was from one of a credible website, and the title was that LA Knight's manager informed or recommended to LA Knight that he does not re-sign with the WWE.
Really?
But kind of makes sense. I mean, he kind of looked like for a minute there he got kind of buried by Bray. And then he has not been put over enough to, which is unfortunate because I love him, dude. I'm all about him.
Yeah.
But I could see, I want him to win, and I think most people probably want him to win. I think Matt Riddle's another character. That's another name that's really It's like, well, where do you go with him? Because he's just kind
Yeah.
of been floating around. And maybe,
Just waiting for Randy.
yeah, but I mean, at the same time, like, there's been the speculation that he may not return, right? Um, it's just like, okay, so there's a few ways you go with this, but with Damian, it does make the most sense. Because of the fact that, like, Damian had that title match, and then Finn ended up, kind of blowing it for him. And they had that awkward stare down that went on. And that just kind of ended Raw that night. And so it hasn't really been touched on too much since. And I was like, oh no, they're not going to turn on each other, because outside of the bloodline, I think the Judgment Day's top tier. So
Yeah, no, it's a great faction.
I just hope that they don't time that where
Yeah.
you got two feuds going on in the two biggest factions.
Yeah. It's I think maybe like that is, I don't know, like the tension within the faction. I think that's like putting the cart in front of the horse. Like, obviously, like, you're always going to have that with factions. You're going to have that, someone's going to have some sort of animosity at some point. Is that going to be anytime soon? I don't think so personally. But I'm good. Like I said, I'm excited for the match.
So what do you think what do you think when that happened on Raw? What do you think that meant? Seth was not said nobody from the Judgment Day ringside, and then Finn showed up. And so Damian turns around, he's like, what are you doing here? Interrupts the match, totally interrupts the flow. And then, Seth takes advantage, wins the match.
I don't even remember.
That's crazy. Well,
yeah, I don't know, man.
I just think, I'm like, well, why would you have that? You're building at that point. And the question is like, shit, dude, are we having both factions kind of, have issues internally? It's just weird timing. I just thought it was strange.
We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
It's gonna be. I mean, hey, listen, Men's Money in the Bank. It's gonna be a show. It's gonna be a really good match. A lot of athleticism, and a lot of interesting characters, and it could really go any way. And I think if you look at it from a U.S. title or a intercontinental title, it could be fun. It could be a lot of fun. Because those names,
I really don't see Gunther dropping the belt to anybody there, though.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's hard to look at any of those names and really see any of those names carrying a belt right now. Personally. And then in we also have the women's Money in the Bank, which is Zelina Vega, Zoe Stark, Becky Lynch, Bailey, Io Sky, and to be announced. I think there's a match this week, potentially, maybe. That's coming up with like a tournament match. I don't think they finalized it, but those are all huge names. And I mean, I would, I'm trying to think of like who really needs the push right now. And I don't have a clue really. Becky's coming off of her stuff with Trish, Bailey, and I think it's weird that Bailey and Io Sky are in a match against each other. Like, I'm curious to see how that plays out.
So I guarantee that they're gonna help each other, and like Io is gonna like get Bailey. I mean, I'm throwing my prediction out right now. I think Bailey wins. I think they screw Becky, and I think Io helps Bailey win. Similar. I think it's pretty kind of similar to what's going on with like, again, titles are what everybody's fighting over. Damage Control is a decent like heel women's faction, and they suffer from the same problem that the other factions have, is that they don't have any gold. Bailey is a very good leader for Damage Control, and one of the people you just kind of like to hate. And what's better than hating the heel champion at some point and having her come in and fight Asuka or something. I don't know, because again, I think we were kind of talking about with the men's match. Obviously, like Becky and Bailey really stand, head and shoulders above everybody else here, but they're still not quite like Rhea's not dropping anything. It's like the Charlotte problem. where they just kind of like for years they were just spinning the wheel, and it was like, you know, Sasha Banks, Charlotte, Becky, Bailey. Like,
The only thing that I could see really playing at like a card here that would make things really interesting and potentially could see a belt change is with Zoe Stark. Her making, her appearance last month and really being pushed by Trish really says a lot. For her to be in this match, I think she has the most to gain and really nothing to lose. And the way that they are building her as this powerhouse person, and we haven't seen her against some of these big names, so I would not be shocked if she wins Money in the Bank and Trish rides that as almost like a manager kind of perspective, and really pushes Zoe Stark to that championship match. I don't think it's a Rhea match, but I do think it's an Asuka match. And you could see Zoe Stark being almost like a female Brock Lesnar or something.
Yeah.
The next big thing, kind of a thing.
and that's, I think that's valid. That's a way you can go. I think just kind of like rolling down here, like Zelina, solid worker, good wrestler. Like there's nothing bad you can say about Zelina. She's always performs well. She's good on the mic too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just not, she's there to play her part.
Right.
Zoe, just like what you just mentioned, she's up
Yeah.
and coming. They can push her to the moon. They can make her have like a Kofi moment,
Yeah.
they come out and do something crazy, because I feel like she kind of has that
You got
spark,
that
that
athleticism
that
and
athleticism to kind of do something that's going to be like, we've seen you on TV a couple weeks now. What do you got? Like, here's your
yeah.
pay-per-view chance.
Yeah.
Obviously Becky's always, if Becky's in a
It's
match,
Becky.
people are gonna pick Becky. Again, like Bailey, Io, like they're together. You
Yeah.
either continue your story with them helping each other, them being the reason why either of them don't win.
Yeah.
We don't know who the last person is. Again, as of us talking about it, but you know,
It'll
at
be
least.
interesting to see, like, if that last person that they're adding, if that's gonna sway our opinion in any way, shape, or form. I echo Eli's um sentiment, and I think Bailey is gonna win it. Um, yeah.
Cool. All
Yeah.
right, man. Wow, we really got we got pretty deep into some of that stuff, man. Um, that was awesome, dude. I'm really excited to see the next few weeks and see where things go. I can't wait to be here, next week to catch up and see what happens.
Yeah.
With that being said, this wraps up episode 3 of the lower mid card. We'll see you next time.